In my opinion, this is the scariest doppelganger story that I've ever heard, and of course it happened in Mexico, so let me translate it for you guys. So this guy says that one day he decided to hang out with his friends that he used to have in school. Mind you, they're all like between 34 and 35 years old now. Of course, it wasn't all of his friends because some of them are married, they moved to different towns, and some like they just lost touch, so he was hanging out with just a few that still lived in the same hometown that he did. And just an FYI, this wasn't like the first time that they had hung out after all these years. Like, they had seen each other here and there, but you know, this is the first time that he had hung out with them after a while. They were hanging out, they were talking about school and what they did and teachers that they didn't like, and for that moment he had forgotten about all his like troubles in real life, and he was just taken in that nostalgia feeling that of being with his friends. However, that was until somebody brought up this party that happened in Cuernavaca. He said that he was just listening to what happened at that party because he hadn't been there, and they were all talking and saying things that they had done, but again, he didn't remember any of this because he couldn't go to that party. That's when he heard one of his friends make a comment to where he thought was a mistake, and his friend was like, remember when Moy showed up to the party all late? And the guy who's telling us the story, his name is Moy, and he was like, oh, he might have set my name in error because I wasn't at that party. And then his other friend was like, oh yeah, he showed up all late with no beer, no nothing, he just showed up by himself, he didn't even bring anything for us. He said that then everybody started laughing, and he was still like, what the fuck, like I'm not laughing because I didn't go to that party, they were all wrong, they're probably remembering it wrong. He also didn't correct them, like he didn't say, hey, you're talking about someone else because I wasn't there. He just like let it go because he just thought that they were saying the wrong name. After him not saying anything, a third friend joined in the conversation and was like, oh my gosh, yeah, he showed up in that beat up car that we could hear all the way down the road. Remember that car that we could hear from so far away we knew you were coming? Do you remember, Moy? That's when he didn't want to be a jerk, but he was like, actually, no, I don't remember. I wasn't there at that party, but it sounded like the party was really fun. After he says that, he said that everybody got really quiet, like almost like an awkward silence. But then they all started laughing because they thought that he was pranking them, that he was just joking around. And as they're laughing, he's like, no guys, like I really didn't go to that party, I wasn't even here. He even asked them like, when was the party, when did this happen, because I swear I didn't go with you guys to Cuernavaca. He even says that never in his life has he ever even been to Cuernavaca, so he was not at that party. He said that that's when everybody started talking. They're like, what do you mean you weren't there? It was at that bridge in 2008, like we all showed up in these cars, some of us couldn't drive, so we had to pick other people up, and that he got to the party really late when everybody was already like kind of drunk. They were all like, we even smoked some that day, and he joking around was like, oh, so you guys smoked some and that's why you hallucinated me being there, saying it as a joke. But they were all like, wait, no, like you were there. And they started to like, it went from like joking to like, wait, what the fuck, like you were there. He said that they all tried to convince him that he was there. Like he would look at every single one of them and he could tell that they weren't lying. Like they almost felt like they were desperately trying to tell him you were there, for him to admit that he was there. But he was like, I was not there because I knew exactly where I was in that moment in time. He was in Veracruz because his grandmother was really bad and she did end up passing away, so they were grieving like his grandmother had passed away, and he was in Veracruz, completely different place than where they were. He started explaining to them like, my entire family had traveled to be there with my grandmother. This isn't something that I would forget so easily, you know, this isn't something that I would leave to come and party for. I promise you guys I wasn't at this party. He even explained to them, look, if you don't believe me, I have text messages, I have photos, I have proof that I was not where you guys were. I was in Veracruz. They did not believe him. They were still like, oh my god, like stop messing around, you were here, like maybe you had smoked too much that day that you completely forgot about it. They told him maybe you got so drunk that you forgot about that night, but he explains that even when he does drink, he doesn't drink to the point where he forgets. He's never been that heavy drinker. He just decided to let it go. Like he stopped talking about the conversation because he's like, okay, maybe this is like an elaborate prank and they're really trying to make me believe that I was here. So hours have passed and it was the point where they were about to leave the party, and this girl that he had gone to school with named Irene actually came up to him. He remembers Irene because he had the biggest crush on her when they were in school. Every time he sees her, every time he's around her, he always has that like really great feeling of nostalgia. Even though they're just friends, like if nothing happened, he still feels like that little crush every time he sees her. But yeah, she went up to him right when he was about to leave. He said that he could tell that she had a really strange look in her face, and that when she came up to him, she told him, hey, you were here in Cuernavaca in 2008. And he tells her, I swear on anything that I was not here. I promise you, I'm not joking. It's not a prank. I was not here. She then tells him, it's because I will forever remember that night, Moy. Like, it was a really special night for both of us. And at least it was for me, maybe not for you if you don't remember it. He said that when she said that, he just felt very strange. Like, almost like if she was talking about maybe a different life that he had, but he was not there. After he tells her that, she opened her phone, goes into her Facebook, goes into these like really old albums, and she clicks on a picture, gives him her phone and says, look, you were here. He sees his friends, he sees that girl, and he is hugging that girl very tight. He says he's wearing like a light blue shirt, which he doesn't even know. And he says he's never owned like a light blue shirt, but he is there in that picture at that party that he does not remember being at. He's looking at the picture and he's asking her like, when did we take this picture? When did you upload it? And she's like, it's at the bridge that we partied at in Cuernavaca in 2008. You were there. She even showed him the date and time that it was posted, and it was the same time where he was in Veracruz and not partying with his friends. He couldn't say anything to her. He didn't know what to say, but the girl hugged him and said, I don't know why you're denying it, and I guess it's okay. It doesn't matter why you're denying what happened that night. Till this day, he hasn't talked to his friend about that. He hasn't talked to them about the picture. He said that he completely deleted his Facebook, and he just still feels very strange about the fact that with 100% he knew he wasn't there, but the fact that there was a picture of someone who maybe looks like him or his doppelganger being there, and he's terrified of bumping into that one day. He also feels very weird about that maybe other version of him who finally hooked up with the girl of his dreams, and how... What the fuck? Am I stressed or what? I'm gonna leave that in here. So you guys can see what the fuck. Anyway, he just feels like whatever happened that night doesn't belong to him. He didn't live it. He doesn't know what happened, but he knows that he wasn't there, and that he doesn't even know what he did with that girl, to where she's like, I can't believe you're denying this. I can't believe you're denying us. I'm just gonna end the story here and fix my eyes. Yeah, thank you.